Rise and shine, it's a brand new day with Mona News. It's time to have your say. She's got the scoop, the stories, all the latest trends. Mo's got the news, let's hear it, my dear friends. From politics to showbiz, no story's too small. Mo covers it all. She's got the inside call, her voice so smooth, like honey in the summer sun. With Mo on the mic, you know the news is always fun. Mornings with Mo, the best newsy news in the world. With her style so classic and her stories unfurled. From morning till night, she's got us in the know. Turn on your radio, let Mo's newsy news flow.
Good morning, everyone. We have not one, but two, count them, dos, nudist stories today. So, if you are wondering if 2024 was going to get any crazier, I think yes. So I don't think we need to consult a magic 8 ball. I think yes, 2024 will indeed ride this crazy train to the end of the crazy tour. Just absolutely insanity. And our first story is just absolutely ridiculous. We have set a standard now where we're going to charge parents for what their kids do. And I think this might be a prime example of a case that needs to go there. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing all of your mod stuff. Good morning, Christine. I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. And you too, Wolfram. I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday as well. In addition to being grateful for your mod, duties, I hope you're having a great day. Alice G, good morning. Spirit Matter, good morning. Jedi Jess, good morning. Thank you so much. So I will tell you, it's like when I'm wearing a wig and I don't quite recognize myself when I first look in the mirror. So I love it, love it, love it. But still, I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's me. Okay, we're good. I'm sure problems normal people don't have, but I never claimed to be normal. So at least I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Our first story, and let me say that I disagree wholeheartedly with the Crumblies prosecution, but if we have unpacked the Pandora's box of charging parents with their children's crimes, then I think this should be the day this should be the case that we put it on. A Texas assistant principal is blind in one eye after a student threw an object at her. So this is a follow-up for the story. She was the one that was airlifted from the Texas high school. Well, we finally figured out why she was airlifted, and this is absolutely redonkulous. Y'all, let my mom have caught wind I threw a note in class. Okay? I would still be on punishment. I am 40 daggone years old and I'd still be on punishment. Okay? And Ron Smith, I totally get it. These past few weeks are just insane. And yes, I will embiggen myself. So I love it. I love it. But again, I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's me. It has made me much more confident. I will say, I did get stared at Lowe's yesterday, but I pretty much assumed it was either my great hair or my great rack. So, I am married, but you can look for free. Just kidding, you guys. I have My Little Pony hair. If I don't get looks out in public, I didn't pay enough money for this. I would like all the looks. Thank you guys so very much. But absolutely appalling that this educator, and I know I take a lot of swipes at the federal education, department and things like that, but absolutely, no teacher should go into a war zone. good, bad, or indifferent. Uh, Thank you, Squid, and Greedy Bloke, good morning. Good morning, Janie J. A Texas assistant principal named Chandra Rogers was left blind in her right eye after an aggressive middle school student lodged a clothing hanger at her face. So I think they meant to say launched instead of lunged. According to KHOU 11 on August 15th, the administrator was responding to students fighting in a classroom at Collins Intermediate School in Corsicana. During the incident, one of the students threw several chairs at her and then a hanger which pierced her eye. Quote, the hanger hit me in my right eye and knocked it out of socket, Rogers told reporters at a press conference following the incident. I grabbed my face while blood was pouring out of my head and stumbled out of the classroom door. Rogers was airlifted to the hospital for a severe injury that left her permanently blind with the possibility of losing her entire eye. She also has to undergo reconstructive surgery on her eyelid. I am still believing God for a miracle for the restoration of my sight, she said. The student was taken into custody by police after the assault and is expected to have charges filed against them, according to a press release issued by the school. The student has reportedly been banned from stepping foot on the school grounds. Well, I mean, he's not allowed to go to school. I'm sure he's very upset. Send this kid to boot camp, but not, now boot camp, like Full Metal Jacket boot camp and his parents. I mean, y'all, Squid Pro Quo, you must have had the same mama I had, because yeah, yeah. It's not a controversial, again, this is Slinky, it's not controversial. Having consequences for actions is how we learn that those actions are not appropriate. Now, whatever form those consequences take, but we have, for not wanting to, have un, level numbers versus population, we have stopped giving kids consequences. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, he had no consequences at home and he had no consequences at school. I mean, they have stopped expelling children, they have stopped giving school children, in school suspension because of the disproportionate, numbers. All of this leads to a guy flying at a judge because he has never had to pay consequences for any of his actions. And he finally got held accountable at the age of 33 and could not figure out how to comport himself in a courtroom because he was not going to get probation. I mean, that is what the society of never having consequences leads us to. And I don't like look, if they want to start charging parents, then okay, I am a kid of the 90s and my favorite movie was Bebe's Kids, which explains a whole lot. But we now have a Bebe's generation. And y'all who've seen the movie, you know what I mean. These are not kids that could not be good. These are not kids that suffer from any sort of, inability to achieve self-control other than they've never had, a system that has made them be accountable and practice self-control. It's not something that you just get out of the ether. I tell my boys every day, we are going to practice self-control. We are going to practice it because regardless of what happens, you're the only person who controls your body and you have to control how, you deal with things because there are certain things that are never okay in society. Now, I'm doing my job as a parent, and I would hope that other parents are doing the same thing, but apparently they're not if your kid is going to throw a hanger at someone's eye. So maybe. JKD Buck, and I am off rail. We should never have a fear of being in a classroom with an aggressive student, Rogers stated in her press conference. Overly aggressive students need services to meet their needs, but I don't believe the safety of other students and educational staff should suffer. I respect her as a victim, but this is the whole tabula rasa, we are all good people, and then societal influences make us, choose badness. No, no. Every one of us has been dealt a different hand. Every one of us has challenges, but you don't see the majority of us taking it out on other people. It's learning to deal with the challenges you have. And I'm sorry, but unless you are going to have their parents also take classes on general parenting and, action consequences, then of course I made myself small. Well, pay attention. Pretty much, Wolfram. I mean, Rogers blamed Texas Governor Greg Abbott and state legislators for refusing to increase public school funding. Hey, you know what? Let's look at that public school funding because 98% of it goes to school administrators, of which you are one, ma'am. Those property tax raises, all those things that you usually get hit up for when your property taxes are due, those go mainly to administrators all the time across the board. Don't tell me we need more money. We, on average, as Americans, do you want to know how much Baltimore, a place where 1 in 8 students don't know how to read at or 1 in 8 students read at grade level? Do you know how much they spend per child? $23,000 a year. And yet we still are graduating kids that can't read. So just spare me the more money fixes everything problem. No, you need to fix society. This is a society problem, and we're going to have an absolute sit down conversation with some uncomfortable facts and some uncomfortable, discussions if we actually want to take care of this. Now, speaking of another train wreck, well, Dalton Dictator is not finding many friends anymore. I guess when you're a dictator, you should probably keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But Tiffany Henyard's friends may be seeing the writing on the wall. Dalton Dictator, Tiffany Henyard's former assistant town trustee, betrays her over, quote, unethical predatory behavior amid lavish spending accusations. Nothing tickles me more than being that Lori Lightfoot is the champion of truth and justice in this story. I mean, that tickles me just on an absurdist level because there is no greater corrupt, political machine than Chicago politics, but she is the bringer of truth in this story. 2024, I love you, you absurd, crazy diamond. Embattled Dalton dictator Tiffany Henyard received a major blow Monday from a presumed ally in her ongoing fight against fraud accusations, or as she likes to say, alizations. Following reports of lavish spending while in office, Thornton Township Board trustee Carmen Carlisle accused the 41-year-old self-proclaimed super mayor of unethical and predatory behavior to increase her influence in the community. Today, I'm breaking my silence and speaking out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior throughout her tenure. Well, look, even the slowest runner finishes the race. She's like, I'm taking a look at all the warrants and subpoenas, and I would just not like to be going to jail. Thank you. For the past 2 years, Henyard has manipulated employees, vendors, and residents using her position to increase her influence while projecting a false image of success funded by the hardworking taxpayers of Thornton Township and the village of Dalton, Carlisle said. Henyard, who was elected in 2021, has faced mounting allegations of malfeasance in office, including misuse of taxpayer funds. The whistleblowing trustee said she remained quiet about the lavish trips and other outlandish spending at the recent board meetings because she trusted the administration. Well, that was your first mistake. The Board of Trustees has since voted to add restrictions on spending for special events and access to credit cards. Again, the slowest runner ends the race, but I don't know, maybe that first 30,000 Amazon credit card expenditure, I would have been like, we're gonna need you to run this by us before you spend anymore. The Board of Trustee, I'm standing up not just for myself, but for others who have been affected by what I see as Henyard's abuse of leadership, Carlisle's statement said. I believe there are many more victims who have been retaliated against, fired, or lied to by Henyard, but have yet to speak out. Henyard didn't remain quiet against the once loyal trustee, coining a new nickname while blaming everybody else for the charade. Quote, I think I'm going to get you a new nickname, Lion Carlisle, Henyard said in front of a packed audience at a special meeting called by Carlisle and another trustee on August 15th. I'm tired of everyone in here. There always being a show. Carlisle, a former assistant to Henyard before being appointed to trustee position to fill a vacancy in May 2023, explained that she never questioned the spending until she stopped trusting Henyard's administration. Okay, ma'am, what was the first thing that done tipped you off? Because it's not like she's been subtle in any of her shenanigans. I mean, this is like you found Where's Waldo on a page with only Waldo on it. This sounds more like someone is like, ooh, she is going down. Okay, Admiral Huck, you can't switch to the light side just because you want the other guy to lose. I mean, look, I wanted Kylo to be gone from that movie too, but it is kind of weird. Just so again, Tiffany Henyard continues to be corrupt. The FBI continues to investigate, and who the heck knows what's going to go on and when we're going to see the mayor either in jail or, I don't know, being given a key to the city because this is end-form Chicago, political machine shenanigans. I don't know. Captain Kern, it's sad, but I think Palpatine would be a better mayor. I mean, he'd use his Sith powers for bad, but I think he'd be a better legislator than Henyard. Absolutely weird. Well, this is a lucky lobster. A 1 in 3 or 30 million orange lobster named Clementine was rescued from a Hamptons Stop and Shop tank after a 2-month stay. Are you telling me that there is a gas station with a lobster tank? Because that is a bougie gas station right there. This crustacean clawed its way to safety. An ultra rare 1 in 3 million orange lobster survived nearly 2 months in a Long Island Stop and Shop tank before it was rescued by animal advocates and released back into the ocean this week. The creature named Clementine was netted with a group of other lobsters and shipped off to the Hampton supermarket in early July, facing a precarious future, even as it was treated like a store mascot. But Clementine had a happy ending on Tuesday when it was picked up by the Humane Long Island Society and released into Long Island Sound. Good morning, Celestial Force. If they didn't find a solution, it was going to end up in a pot just like everyone else. Anthrozoologist and Humane Long Island Executive Director John DeLeonardo told the Post in an interview Wednesday. It's a testament to the willpower of this lobster, he added. The will to survive. Lobsters are just like us. They want to live free and they want to live. Okay, but now I'm feeling bad for all the regular lobsters we just kept in the cage because they weren't, uniquely colored. And I think I've only had lobster once, and it was already a tail, so I'm not ever gonna bring a lobster home because my kids would wanna keep it as a pet. I'm gonna be real here. That lobster would never end up in a pot. We just the kids would glue cat fur on it and say it's our new cat. There's just no way. Now, during the nearly 2-month stay at the shopping center, the lobster was treated like a celebrity, being fed shrimp unlike its companions. Hey, regular lobster lives matter. Give them other lobsters some shrimp too. And Dingus is like, get me some shrimp too while you're at it, ma'am. Uh, and even dubbed a nickname Pinky by the seafood manager's young daughter, De Leonardo said. Upon discovering the lobster, our Southampton store team worked quickly to identify a local organization that may be able to care for the lobster. The grocery store spokesperson said in a statement, our store team partnered with Humane Long Island to pick up the lobster and bring it to one of their locations, then release it back into the wild. De Leonardo said he got in touch with the grocery store earlier this month. We were not going to buy it. We never encourage people to buy it. So we asked Stop and Shop to donate it, and they did. We didn't want to give them more money just to subject more animals to the same thing. Once the lobster, which De Leonardo noted was they are smart and sensitive creatures. Y'all, okay, it's still a lobster. I mean, aren't these basically the cockroaches of the sea? Not trying to be in any way disrespectful to lobster kind, but I've never seen lobsters, I don't know, do the kind of mental things that maybe a cuttlefish or an octopus could do. Maybe Jordan Peterson was right. Lobsters are the smartest things ever. Staff stayed with Clementine for about an hour until they were sure that it had acclimatized to its new environment. Lobsters don't belong in a pot. They don't belong in a cramped aquarium tank. Lobsters are wild animals and they belong to the wild. Yeah, Greedy Bloke, this is kind of yeah, I mean, look, every creature has a little spark of the divine, but I I don't know. It let's not wax poetic on, like, the uniqueness of crayfish or giant mutant crayfish. I don't know. It's just it's not you know what? Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my fight. If you would like to free lobster kind, Mr. D. Leonardo, I say you get together a league of other, members named after famous Italian artists, and you can make the Anti-Ninja Turtle League because I'm sure the turtles don't want to have their names used in, anything mean. Dear Lord, some people. Lobsters are bad. Eating lobsters are bad. Okay. In news that I'm sure is not breaking news to anyone, but I did want to cover the story. Ex-detective accused of unaliving pregnant woman he abused as a teen and trying to make the death look like a self-deletion. I am so glad that her family is finally getting some answers, finally getting some justice, because this case has bothered me a whole heck of a lot. And I'm glad that she is finally getting to speak. Her story is finally coming out. A former Massachusetts police detective accused of unaliving a woman who recently told him she was pregnant with his child, then staging the scene to appear as though she self-deleted, has been charged in her 2021 death, federal prosecutors said Wednesday. They allege that Matthew Farewell, killed Sandra Birchmore years after he began grooming and SAing her as a youth in the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy. Farwell was an instructor in the program designed to foster an interest in police work and worked for the Stoughton Police Department from 2012 to 2022. Yeah, it looks like a tragic case, and there are cases that just hit you so hard. I mean, I think maybe it probably hit Baker because we can see our daughters in this, and I'm not gonna speak for Baker any more than that, but I can definitely put myself as a parent of, teen girl daughters and thinking how easily a monster disguised as a police officer could have done these things to our children, and that absolute breakdown of trust, the good guy that you think you're putting your kid who has an interest in, maybe police force, or you want to get them started right, and you think you're sending them to a good person, and that person betrayed that trust, not only betrayed that trust, but then led allegedly to your child and grandchild no longer being on this earth, then had the absolute gall and evil to make it look like she had done this of her own hand. And evil doesn't need a reason. I wish we would stop looking for outside reasons. Sometimes evil's just going to evil. And Lord Chippy, I think he'd get sick on this one. So we'll just be sending this guy directly to the sun for, gravitational and high temperature, well, redistribution of his particulate self, because I don't want to get Lord Chippy sick. He already has to deal with a lot of people. Just, and she looks like a beautiful girl. It's gross. Farwell was 38 when he began SAing while on duty Birchmore when she was 15. Acting U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy said at a news conference Wednesday. She, quote, survived years of grooming, SA, and then violence at the hands of Matthew Farwell. Farwell befriended her, contacted her online, and then went to the library with her before he began SAing her. Levy said. Prosecutors said Farwell unalived Birchmore, 23, on February 1st, 2021. Okay, YouTube, you know what? Let me tell you something, YouTube. You know what would be lovely is if I could say the words that have the actual emotional gravitas that CNN, ABC, and NBC are allowed to say on your platform, because having these language creoles, having these things I'm not allowed to say because you think they're too scary for people that are listening to the news, kind of takes away from the emotional gravitas of what has actually happened. And with these rules, you are taking percentages of dignity off of these situations for, sensitivity strength. Well, you know what? Sometimes people need to be hot, mad, and bothered about things because that's how things change. Sometimes people need to be able to say the plain truth and not make, new words up or funny colloquialisms to be able to say something so things will change. Just absolutely ridiculous that I can't say the things that ABC, NBC, and your chosen pet channels like. But they advertise on this, they run this, and, the independent creators who actually give a damn, actually care, wanna see change, not just talking heads, have to make up some ridiculous BS new language. I'm just about done with it. I'm sorry, I don't know where all this anger is coming from, but I get a little irritated when I have to constantly think up new words, and it kinda takes away from what really went on. I mean, you all know what I'm talking about, and other people do, but we have to create a whole new damn language, and it softens it. Again, I go back to George Carlin. Had we kept it shell shock, then we wouldn't have lost a bunch of veterans when we were trying to call it PTSD from Vietnam on. So how about we keep the real words and everyone just, deals with it because 'cause they're big things. Anywho, I will get back off my soapbox because I'm gonna get big mad. Authorities initially ruled Birchmore's death a self-deletion. Farwell has been charged with one count of unaliving a witness or victim. The FBI arrested him in Revere, Massachusetts on Wednesday. A lawyer for Farwell did not immediately respond for requests for comment. In October 2020, Birchmore told Farwell that she wanted to have a baby, and he agreed to try to assist her with that. If she stayed silent about his past behavior and the relationship, according to a motion prosecutors filed arguing for pretrial detention. Birchmore wanted to have a child and was excited about her pregnancy, but Farwell was not. His behavior grew more erratic and dangerous, Levy said. Birchmore told Farwell that the child was his and began asking him about doctor's appointments, ultrasounds, and what information would be on the birth certificate. A month before Birchmore was unalived, one of her friends told Stoughton, "You know what? I'm not doing it anymore. If they want to demonetize me, I'm done. I'm done. Because I'm part of the problem. The more of us who just say the words, they can't." Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Ron Smith, for your service. And I am so, so sorry for your loss. And I wish we could talk about these things openly and have an honest dialogue because nothing changes when we soften language. And I'm so sorry. Look, it's a hole that doesn't go away. In fact, I will be doing a video on delayed grief, probably during this week because it's a reality. It's a reality that I'm facing, and grief is something that we need to start talk I need to talk about. It's more of a way for just me to talk about things, but it's an absolute thing that I don't think anyone has talked about all the at a lot, and I know I'm struggling with it a lot right now, and I figure if I can talk about it and, maybe help someone else that's struggling because all of these different feelings are just way too confusing and not logical. But anywho, let's get back to the story. A month before Birchmore was killed, one of her friends told Stoughton police that Farewell had been abusing Birchmore from time immemorial, basically. Mr. Farewell was losing control in late 2020, early 2021. The information that Sandra Birchmore possessed about his illegal conduct was in danger of slipping out. In fact, word started to get out about their relationship less than 2 weeks before she was found dead, Levi said. After the friend came forward, 6'4" Farwell allegedly became violent with a 4'10" Birchmore. He pushed her and put her in a chokehold. Prosecutors said that Farewell killed Birchmore hours before his wife delivered their third child. Yeah, Lord Chippy would get sick. Absolutely. I haven't even seen the text. That might have to be a Rumble exclusive. I am going to be sitting down more for the next 2 days, so I might do a Rumble exclusive. Uh, we're on, you know what? For some reason, today is just a tangent day. So, and this has gotten me upset. So, um, but more of a housekeeping things. So, this weekend, Legal Shenanigans Theater, uh, absolutely, Jedi Jess, I might be doing those tomorrow. Legal Shenanigans Theater will be on Sunday this week because I am going up to, my mother in law is not doing the greatest, so to visit with her, but she is no longer able to use her car, and she's generously and wonderfully and kindly going to let me drive it. It's higher off the ground, so I don't I am lucky enough to have my own car, which is really nice and it's paid off, but it's very low to the ground, and I'm having a lot of trouble, getting in and out of it on bad days. So she has a little bit of a higher car, and she's like, "Yeah, if you'd like to use it while I'm not using it, that would be great." So extremely lucky and blessed, but I get to go do that. But I also live in a reality that um, I've done a lot and I have to really rest up. Captain Kern, yesterday was a doozy. Yesterday was a doozy. I was going to do Mo Knows It All stream, but I will probably, you know what? Let's just talk about it now. Let's just talk about it now since this is the time. And I've been thinking about it all morning. So sorry for everyone who tuned in for Mornings with Mo. This is going to be a talk about, reality and delayed grief. So I do apologize that things have kind of changed and this has become just a random off the wall stream. But sometimes things won't leave your mind because maybe you need to say them or maybe someone else needs to hear them. Oh, I will have to look into that. It's more the lowness and how my hip I'm working on I've fallen off. It's been a struggle mental health for me, and I have fallen off a little bit on my range of motion with my hip daily exercises because they hurt. And honestly, I know why you're supposed to do them. I get that, but they also still hurt, and it hurts if I don't do them. So it's just one of them things. Yesterday, I had not thought of this for a while. As all of you guys know, I lost my first husband about 17 years ago. And my psychiatrist, for some reason yesterday, decided to bring up his death apropos of nothing, like literally nothing. Oh, thank you so much, Christine. Um, and he got the cause of death wrong. So, my first husband, I've not been shy about it. He struggled with addiction, but he said, "So your husband died of suicide?" And I was like, "No, no. If you read my files and that paperwork I filled out with all my past traumas, you would know he died of an overdose." Not many people know this, and this is weird to kind of get out on the internet, but look, if it helps one person not feel guilty for 17 years, then I hope it helps. But people with addictions generally have an entire hurricane of chaos going around with them. And one of the last phone calls I received from my late husband was at like 11 o'clock at night. Y'all know I turn into a pumpkin at about 8:39. Um, while crazy shenanigans were going on and hysteria and craziness. Um, and I basically told him, if you want to see your girls again, you need to man up and make better choices. You need to, grow up. I can't let the girls be around this craziness. I was 24 years old. I had an 18-month-old and a 5-month-old, and I was living with my mom, knowing we were losing our house because my husband had made no payments on it. So I was effectively homeless. I was done with all of the absolute craziness. And those were the last words I spoke to him. I said, "Man up or leave them alone." So him transposing those causes of death have been something I have held in my heart because I have always secretly worried if those last words I said to him were the things that pushed him over. And I told my psychiatrist, I was like, "Look, here's the deal. I survived. I survived, and I don't wanna dig that up. How much more do I have to give to this situation? How much more, mental paying attention do I have to do to this? I survived it. I'm not a victim. I don't care. I have finally forgiven that 24-year-old girl who had her entire world blown up because she didn't have the bandwidth to deal with any more emotions at that time. I already grieved the husband that I married because I lost him to addiction. I am now at a place where my life has slowed pace enough that apparently I'm getting to feel all of the feelings. And they're hard, they're difficult. How do you mourn a jerk? How do you mourn a person that stepped out on you and your kids may have, half siblings in the town that you used to live in? How do you deal with all that? Well, you know, feelings as they come. Feelings as they come. And you know what? That is why if there is one thing I have learned from this entire suck ass grief and situation is that whatever you're feeling, it's okay. It is okay. If you don't have the bandwidth to deal with this right now, don't feel bad. Don't waste 17 years wondering if you're a bad person because you just didn't have the bandwidth to deal with it at the moment. That grief is going to come. It is. And it's going to be more of, at least for me, a grief that, look, I have made peace with the fact that I was not enough for him to quit his addiction. What I still continue to have an issue with and will probably never make peace with is that you could look at those 2 beautiful miracle little girls and still turn your back on them. And Imma be honest with you guys. For about 17 years, I was so angry at this man that I could barely remember the good times. I could barely remember them. Now I am, in a way, delayed grief is sort of a gift because I'm remembering the little things that I kind of blocked out and that I spent so much time just being angry because I needed to feel that. But there was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with any of what I felt. And if I could stop anyone from, "Oh, well, I'm not feeling sad enough," or "I'm not crying on the outside." Am I a bad person? No. No, we all grieve. I use dark humor and sarcasm and maladaptive stuff, or at least it's normal for me. But there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Some people like to grieve out in the open. That's how they feel support. Some of us like to hide in our closets and cry because we don't want people to see us cry. Because the hardest thing for us is to, have those emotions, and in order for us to process them all, where did in order for us to process them all, we need time. And I I wish that grieving was easy. It is a suck club that no one wants to deal with. Some of us, I only speak for myself. I have a really hard time letting go. And when I go, I do. But I'm usually by myself. And I should be better at reaching out for help, but I have to feel those feelings by myself before I can even articulate. And welcome, Shizzy Raiders. Uh, we are having an impromptu delayed grief roundtable therapy session because Mo is off the train today. So you might have come for news, but you're coming here for this random verbal vomit because I would like no one else to spend 17 years beating themselves up for not having the tools at the time to Just okay, leave them on the plate for all day, and then she is free range eating. I'm just saying, you gotta market this a different way. If I could give you guys any wisdom, it would be this. It took me 15 years to forgive that 24-year-old baby Mo, if you will, with 2 kids and no house, no future, that I thought, and I was so mad at her for so many years because I could not feel anything but anger towards towards the whole situation. And I thought, "Hmm, am I a good person? What is going on? I love this man. I had children with this man. Why can't I feel anything but anger?" But that's all I had the bandwidth for. And sometimes you're just only gonna have the bandwidth for one thing. Grieving is not what we do on the outside. It's not a funeral. It's it's how each of us individually walk through it. And some of us are gonna delay that grief until we can no longer delay it, until our life slows down to the point that we can have it. And can I tell you, it's a kick in the tit? Like, y'all, I just got all of my 6 feral children into school. I had a moment to think for myself, and here comes delayed grief? Like, what in the actual hell? God, I wanted to have 5 minutes alone. I could eat a Little Debbie in silence and peace and not hide in my closet. But instead, I get to deal with grief? What the actual no hard pass party foul is this crap? But it's something that I didn't even know was a possibility. I am gonna tell you, like, it feels like I walked outdoors one day and right there from, God and the universe, like, "Hey, we've been trying to deliver you this package and we just caught up with you. I don't know if you left a forwarding address, but, here is your grief and trauma. Um, how would you like it? You have to sign for it, you have to take it. Here you go." And I was like, excuse me?" No, this happened 17 years ago. I am done, fine, and over with it. Like, you can miss me with this noise. Unfortunately, that is not a thing that happens. That being said, every time I have struggled with this, every time my life has seemed darker, or I am dealing with things that I don't know how to deal with them or how to put a good label on them, when I look back and I look around, there have always when I thought my life was the darkest, there are always people holding a light for me all around me, waiting for that tunnel to end, waiting for that night to end, waiting for that dark period to end. They're holding that light for me. When I can't hold it myself, they were holding it for me. And absolutely, grief is something that I'm struggling with right now. And it's really weird to look at Mr. Mo, and I have a great life now. I am so beyond blessed, but to have to deal with it is such a weird thing. And I don't think we talk enough about how people process grief, how people as soon as you get your life into a good place, you have to deal with all the stuff. Well, no, but I think that there is an expectation that grief should be performative sometimes. And I think that sometimes, you know, we question people. Well, she hasn't cried, or, she's kind of quiet and stoic. It's it's so personal. And I dislike how we want people to perform grief. like with the Maya trial, "Well, she went to homecoming and she's smiling. I guess she's not too sad about her mom now, isn't she?" No, because life goes on. Do you wanna know the cruelest thing about grief? Do you guys wanna know the really, really sucky thing? And this hit me so incredibly hard. The day I was going to get my husband's obituary at the gas station, I was sitting in my car, and I was just sitting there, and the gas station was right across from a Target, and I was so angry at God. I was like, "How dare these people? How dare these people just walk in and go buy toilet paper? How dare their lives not stop?" Because that's the truth. The world gives no craps about your grief. I mean, that it does, but it doesn't, because it refuses to stop when your world stops, and that is the cruelest, hardest, most heartbreaking part of grief, is that your world has blown apart. Your world is destroyed into tiny particles of chaos. Your center of gravity is gone, and no one else is affected. You have had a personal Chernobyl event, and the world keeps just going on and people are smiling. I remember being so mad, and I feel bad now looking back. I understand it's a completely normal thing, but there was this couple holding hands and walking into Target, and I was just so irritated that they even existed. I was just like, "Really, God? You had to put that couple in front of me, like, happy, smiling, holding hands? Like, could I just be on, like, breakup row? Could I, you know, just drive around with someone throwing their significant others, crap all on the lawn or something? Could I see other train wrecks, please? Not, people's happy lives." That being said, that has to be the gut punch that I think we don't talk about enough, is or at least that's the part that has always struck me as the most painful, is that the world does not stop to let you have this time of mourning, to let you deal with all these feelings. So a lot of us are going to have delayed grief, and I wish we would talk about it more, because I didn't even know it was a effing possibility. And if I could have gotten a post-it note, that would have been fine, universe. But no, no, no. I was like, hair appointment, mental breakdown, self loathing. If I could get all those just on a, schedule. Y'all, I am trying to have a serious conversation, and Mr. Mo is over here showing me his dance moves. Oh. After this man told me that there were no biometric locks at Lowe's to put my new door on, or to put on my new door, and then he wouldn't let me ask a Lowe's guy if they had the Resident Evil lasers from the hallway scene. I mean, I put them on stun. He wouldn't let me ask a guy for it. I was like, "I am sure they have the Resident Evil, at home laser kit on stun." And he was like, "You are not going to ask anybody that." Well, why go to Lowe's then if I don't know if they have alligators with lasers on their head for home protection? Really seems like a market that they should get into. Anywho, on the plus side, I get a new door with a lock on it and a top lock. No biometric thing though, which is kind of, I know. So I did anyway. They said they didn't have it. I told them that I will be JKD Buck, absolutely, counseling is a good thing. The therapist or my psychiatrist or psychologist, whichever one can dispense medicines, I always get those 2 mixed up, like, you know, I can't remember. I just call him my crazy doctor and just go on my own way, because, well, that and I can't spell either of them. Even my autocorrect is like, "What the hell is this heifer trying to say?" And then I just put my crazy doctor. When in spelling doubt, simply shorten the word. I guess my unique situation is, um, And I think there's something else. I think when you have someone that maybe you already lost to addiction, I think you've already sort of started grieving for that person. You see them disappear little by little from the person that you knew, and what you're really grieving, or at least what's been the hardest thing to grieve for me personally, is the hope that he could change, and that hope will kill you. That hope is painful, and it's exhausting, and it gets smaller and smaller. But the death of that hope is is also just really big. I guess what having said all of that, to say that I hope if you're struggling with something right now, not that any sort of my permission is like a, you know, needed, but you're allowed to feel how you feel. And if you can't deal with it right now, then you'll deal with it later when maybe you have more tools. Don't beat yourself up. Don't, feel bad. Don't spend 17 years wondering if you're a good person, because it's a flippin' ridiculous weight to carry. And if my sharing can stop one person from dealing with that, then that's all I hope for, because it has sucked. And the weight that I lost when forgave myself for dealing with that however I needed to is absolutely great. And I don't want anyone to go with that. And then my only other wisdom would be that if you know someone who is dealing with grief, sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit there and hold their hand. Just knowing that someone is willing to sit there while you go through hell, not gonna sugarcoat it, not gonna try to give you words that don't mean anything, but they just sit there in silence with you in hell. Those have been the most amazingly beautiful sacrifices that people have made for me in my journey. So if you ever have the opportunity, it's not fun. Like, you will cry like you've watched Terms of Endearment, Steel Magnolias, and freaking Old Yeller. But absolutely the best thing that you can do for anyone is just sit with them and hold their hands and know, I know, we're all going through hell, but I will sit right here in the depths of that with you, and you are not alone. Anywho, I think I'm going to end it there. At noon today, we are going to have Let's Drink About It Reddit judgments. Why should Reddit get all the fun of judging everyone and everything? And their sort of awesome life dumpster fires. Having walked through some, dumpster fires of life, I feel I should judge everyone too. So if you like Am I the A-hole post and you would like to hear, Mo's life advice, with the caveat that I have this hair, which is fabulous, but might not be for everyone, and consult all legal guidelines before taking any of my advice, and then possibly consult a priest. Uh, you know, we will be having fun with that. And I will see you guys at noon, and I might have an adult beverage because Mr. Mo is home. So all rules go out of the window. I will see you guys in a little bit. Have a good day. And thank you guys for letting me go way off script today. Uh, some days are just some days just be like that. I can't remember who sings that song, but there you go. That's my life motto. Some days just be like that. Bye, you guys. I will see you in a little bit.